Hello, friends. It is so nice to be back recording for the first time in quite a while. I hope you all are doing well. I hope everyone is having a beautiful start to their summer. I've been busy, all good things. But yes, I've been doing a little bit of traveling. If you follow me over on Instagram, you've probably seen that. Or if you watched my reel about visiting the Portuguese synagogue in Amsterdam, you will have seen that I've been getting around quite a bit. But I'm home for the foreseeable future and very pleased to be so. So between the busyness of travel and the start of the really hot, muggy weather here in the DC area, we've also been experiencing a lot of bad air quality days with the Canadian wildfires. I have really been embracing my square scarves. You all know that I love them any time of year, but especially right now, I have been wearing them so much. So I wanted to do a pretty simple video today. I am going to show you two of the square scarf styles that I have been wearing the most. I posted a short with one of the other styles that I've been wearing in a low bun wrap, and these are the other two that I've been doing a ton. So I'm pretty much gonna hop right into it. But first I'm gonna talk about a couple of tips and tricks. The first of which is you will notice that when I do a lot of my square scarf wraps, that I will pleat the front of my scarf. And I do this for two reasons. First of all, I just think it looks nice. Second of all, I feel like very often when you're doing a wrap with a rectangular scarf, the first thing you do is you fold the scarf to fit your head. And a lot of times with square scarf tutorials, I don't see that being done. And for me at least, I tend to find that I end up with a lot of extra bulk at the back of my neck, a lot of extra fabric, if I just fold it into a triangle and slap it on my head. If you have a bigger head than I do, if you wear bigger shapers than I usually do with square scarves, you may not have that issue. But if you have a smaller head like me, or you just want less material there, this is the easiest way, in my mind, to deal with that. So that's thing number one that I wanted to talk about. But thing number two that I wanted to talk to you about is proper knot tying technique. So what do I mean by that? You may have heard me in some videos talk about square knots. I was a Girl Scout when I was a little girl, and this is the only knot that I remember how to tie, but it is a really critical one. So I'm gonna try and illustrate this with the scarf that I have here by just kind of wrapping it around my neck. Okay, so I'm gonna start tying it in the front like this. All right, so I've just done one simple overhand knot. Now, there are two different ways that I can complete this knot. The first is to basically tie the second knot in the same direction that I did the first. And this will form something called a granny knot. All right. So you see that it's a little bit off kilter. This is not, pardon the attention, this is not a super stable knot. This will not stay very well, and it also will put anything that you tie against it. So I've got these two bits going this way, and I've got these two bits going that way, and that's how it wants to be, right? Having these four bits coming out like so. Now, there are times when you might want that when you're doing a wrap. If you are doing a sash where you have the scarf going like this and you want your bow to be horizontal and the scarf is going vertical, you might want to do a granny knot. However, most of the time, instead, I am going to do a square knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this scarf that's coming over the top, and I am going to pass it over the top again, and then use that to complete the knot. And so this is what we end up with, where it's very much two ends going out of either side. This is a very secure knot, and it sits very flat. More often than not, again, I'm sorry, just don't like make this into a drinking game where you do a shot every time that I say the word not, either version. More often than not, when I'm doing a wrap, that is the kind of knot that I am going to be choosing. And it is also particularly relevant for this first wrap that I am going to be showing you. All right, so I have just my signature shaper on today, pretty minimal stuff, and I am going to tie this on my head nice and evenly. This would also work really great without a shaper. I promise I will do some more shaperless wrap videos for you soon. But what I find is that when I do videos where I'm not wearing a shaper, I tend to forget, and then I'll like lean one way or the other into the frame and like my hair will be showing, and then I don't really want to post that. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna tie this on my head nice and evenly. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring both tails around to one side. So now I'm going to tuck in my end here, but instead of tucking it between my two scarf ends, I am going to tuck it in to the side. Like so. And then I am going to be making a bow over on this side of my head. So the way that I'm going to do that, if you go back and you look at one of my oldest videos for square scarf wraps, I do a different version of this. I do a slightly different way of making the bow. But I find that this one tends to be a little bit easier to get the hang of. So this is what I've been doing lately. So I am going to loop the fabric around one of my hands here, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my other hand, loop the fabric around. And so what that does is it ensures that my two loops are relatively even in size, because otherwise this is really hard to get even. And now I'm going to tie these loops into a knot, and I'm going to try and do it so that it is a square knot. So that means this guy is coming out in front. So I'm going to press that in front here and then finish tying my knot like so. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, pull it really nice and secure. And then I'm going to worry about how big I want my loops. And those are a little bit bigger than I want. So I will pull on my tails just a little bit. Again, I'm using this hand here as a gauge for the size of my loops to try and make sure that things stay nice and even. Same thing, pull that down a little bit, and then all I'm going to do is fluff these out. And you can make the bow as big or as little as you would like it to be. I think that came out a little bit bigger than I usually do. All right, I'm gonna shrink it down a little bit more. Put my hand in and find my tail, pull. That feels nice and snug. And then same thing over here. Hand in, find my tail, and pull. Okay. There we go. All right, and so this is the final look. Just like that. And if you wanted the bow to be facing in the other direction, you would just tie that second knot the other way around. But this is going to be really, really nice and secure. And I don't mind that it's like a little bit vertical. So here it is from the front, from the side, from the back, and the other side. Just really nice and simple little wrap for the summer. And if you wanted to tuck your tails away. That'd be a really easy thing to do, and just leave the bow. You can minimize how much you have on your neck, which sometimes I know in the summer is quite the relief. So yeah, so that is the first one. Very simple, very easy to do. I am not getting fancy today, and I am not going to be fancy next week either. So that's just what we're doing. And to be perfectly honest, like my really simple tutorials are the ones that have been doing the best lately. So it seems that's what at least some people want right now. Okay, for my second wrap, I am going to switch over to one of my golden Israeli tichels. So here, I feel like these tend to feel a little bit bigger than the other kind. So this one I've put 2 pleats in the front of it, but just the same as with the previous one, I have pleated it to eat up a little bit of extra length. Now, what I'm going to advise is that if you have a larger head, that you not pleat this up as much, leave a little extra room, and then what you're going to do is when you put it on your head, wherever you want your tail to be, put it a little askew to that side, and I will show you why. All right, so this is more or less centered on my head, and we're going to tie it in a knot at the back of the neck, and then I am going to fold this up and tuck it under. There we go. Okay, so if you have a small head, you can have your tails pretty even. If you have a larger head, you want more tails on the opposite side of where you want your bow, because all that I'm going to do is I am basically going to do a beginner's luck. This guy is going to come up and over. I do recommend for this wrap having a shaper, or at least like a volumizing scrunchie on. You need something to hold this in place. And then I'm going to tie a beginner's luck knot over here. And then this second end, I am going to bring up and over and just lightly tuck it in. You could give this a twist if you wanted to. I bet that would look lovely. And then you can either tuck it in to the first scarf end that came up, or you can just tuck it at the nape of your neck, wherever it is that it fits. And there you go. You have just like the tiniest little tail with your square scarf. Here it is from the front, from the side, the back, and the other side. So that's it. These are 2 of the square scarf wraps that I have been wearing so much with the beginning of the warm weather. I hope you enjoy them if it is in fact summer where you are. If not, save this for 6 months from now. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until next time, that is a wrap for me. Thank you so much for watching.